Talking legal news now as an appeals court in Georgia is reviewing former President Trump's request to have the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, thrown off his election interference case. This after a judge had ruled she could remain on the case as long as the prosecutor, Nathan Wade, stepped down after Willis was accused of profiting from a relationship with him. Now, former President Trump's New York hush money trial is in recess today, but still a lot to talk about before they resume tomorrow with trial attorney Brian Claypool, who joins us right now on our legal beat. All right, Brian, good to see you as always. This Fani Willis case, all right, they're going to give it another look, I guess. What do you make of that?
Well, that's absolutely good news for President Trump's camp because the appellate court could have declined the request. The procedural requirement was Trump's lawyers had to put in a request to the appellate court to decide whether to review it. They now have said yes. Trump's team now has 10 days to file what's called a notice of appeal. So look, Connell, anytime an appellate court says we're going to look at your matter, that's a positive victory for the appellant, which is Trump here.
We'll go back to Trump in a moment. We got some breaking news. I said you were on the legal beat. That there's a story that's been in the news about the baseball player Shohei Ohtani, the guy who was his interpreter. Remember this gambling scandal, and he had allegedly been stealing money from Ohtani to pay off gambling debts and to gamble in general. He has just entered a guilty plea in that case. That was something else. There's pictures of him. Ohtani, of course, on the right, interpreter on the left. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, that's right in our backyard, Colin.
Yeah.
I'm in L.A., and, I've heard a lot about this. My visceral reaction is it seems a little too early and premature for a plea deal to be carved out so quickly when you had to analyze bank documents, financial records, wire transfers. I would have expected that authorities would have interviewed Ohtani, interviewed other individuals. Who was this guy, the interpreter, placing bets with, right? It was off the books because it's illegal in California to bet. So to me, as a criminal defense lawyer, it's a lot to unpack, and I was surprised. I mean, usually when you get somebody like this and he's so close to Ohtani, why was a deal cut so quickly? I'm not saying Ohtani did anything wrong, but is that potentially to insulate Ohtani from any further inquiry in this gambling scandal?
It's a bank fraud plea, I guess, is what we're being told. So you're saying something like that usually takes a long time.
It takes longer than we've seen here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's pled to the other crimes as well. But look, this is a fast track road to a plea deal. And, and I think we owe it to look into why this plea deal was reached so quickly. Again, not saying Ohtani did anything wrong, but
Yep.
Look, he's one of the faces of baseball. He's already got close to 10 home runs. Everybody loves this guy. I mean, does he get special treatment because he's a baseball star? That's what I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah, I think he is 10th. The guy's been tearing it up. He's not even pitching this year, but he's been tearing it up as a hitter. It's the next Babe Ruth, or the better than Babe Ruth, the people say. Whatever it is, this is a big story for that reason because of who it involves. Okay. That's in. Plea deal in the Ohtani ex-interpreter case. Let me go back to Trump just for a moment because we haven't talked much about the hush money trial today other than one comment from Geraldo a minute ago. But what do you make of what the prosecution's been trying to establish? I mentioned it to Geraldo. At the end of the Stormy Daniels cross-examination, she'll be back on the stand tomorrow. She was out there saying when she was asked that, yeah, she hates Trump. So the prosecutors clearly, or the defense, I should say, clearly trying to get at her credibility after what was probably a long morning for the former president. There's that exchange we referenced earlier when it was the prosecution going at her. Where's this case right now in your mind?
Well, I think both sides scored points with Stormy Daniels. Personally, I don't think any of her testimony is really relevant to the case to determine whether Trump commanded financial records to be falsified with an intent to interfere with the election. I don't think all this detail she gave about the sexual encounter, to me, all of it's irrelevant. It's highly prejudicial to President Trump. It creates the basis for an appeal.
Right. It wasn't a mistrial. They went for the mistrial. He didn't give him the mistrial, but you're saying it could be a big deal on an appeal.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, Connell, look, no trial judge is gonna grant a mistrial based on his or her improper ruling. In my opinion, this testimony is highly inflammatory. The law in every state is, even if evidence is relevant, a judge has to do a second-prong analysis whether it's prejudicial. And I think all of this inflames the jury to think that Trump is an unsavory, not a good guy, to hope to convict him. So I think that really does help the prosecution. But on the flip side, you just said, Stormy Daniels says, I hate Donald Trump. So she and the other star witness, Michael Cohen, are going to get on the stand and say, I can't stand Trump. I hate Trump. That helps the defense because the jury instruction at the end is you look at the credibility of a witness based on bias and motive. Well, you've got bias clearly by these two witnesses.
All right. And it's the only Trump trial we're covering now. Now that the documents, one's been delayed and the other one's not going to go to trial before the election. Brian, covered it all. Thanks as always. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Brian Claypool there with us as we continue here on News Nation Now.